in our presentations on Melvin Russell Ballard Jr. He has a very unique heritage. He's the grandson of Joseph F. Smith, the great-great-grandson of Hiram Smith, making him the great-great-grandnephew of Joseph Smith Jr. He was born on October 8, 1928, in Salt Lake City, Utah. Currently, he is 83 years old. He is the son of Melvin Russell and Geraldine Smith. He had 3 sisters for siblings. As a youth, he grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. One of his main jobs that he did as a youth was he mowed a lot of lawns. And it was noted that he always had a job since the time he could work. So it shows a little bit of the kind of person that he was. He always did very good. He did every job with vigor and commitment. He attended East High School in Salt Lake City. For college, he attended the University of Utah. He was in a fraternity where he was given the nickname Bishop because of the example that he set for people, and as a leader, he remained true and faithful to the gospel principles. His occupation. He was involved in several different businesses, including automotive, real estate, and investment. He took over his family's car dealership, Ballard Motor Company, and managed it for some time. He served in the Army Reserves, where when he left, he held the rank of first lieutenant. There's an important business lesson he learned in his life. His father's dealership was one of the most successful Ford dealerships in the nation, and when he came back from one business trip, he won the right to sell the Edsel. Now, this ended up being one of the biggest failures for a car, and it left him in a lot of debt. But from this experience, he still learned something. He said, "To me, failure is only when you quit trying. If you keep working at a task and try to do what's right and honest, ultimately it works out." One of the highlights of his business career, Elder Ballard said, was his responsibility as president of the Valley Music Hall in Bountiful, Utah. The theater offered high-quality family entertainment, and he worked in association with Art Linkletter, Danny Thomas, Bob Cummings, and other Hollywood celebrities who were advertised to the enterprise. Although the music hall failed financially, he made sure that the investors had opportunities to recover the money they had put into it. He met his wife, Barbara Brown, at a dance at the University of Utah through a friend who wanted them to meet. The friend was dancing with Barbara and made their way over to where M. Russell Ballard was, and he cut in. He danced with her for 30 seconds, and it was the beginning of their 11th month courtship. He said of Barbara, "She was not only beautiful, but had a sparkling personality. I knew from the beginning I wanted to marry her, but she didn't share the same feelings. It was a little hard convincing her. I kid her now that getting her to agree to marry me was the greatest sales job I ever did." They were married on August 28, 1951 in the Salt Lake Temple. They had 7 children, 2 boys, 5 girls. He and his wife, Barbara Bowen, had been married 61 years. Family life. Barbara said of Melvin, "He's extremely devoted to his family, and they've always come first. He was a bishop for many years and held lots of current church jobs, but those responsibilities never been to the detriment of his family. When he was home, he made the time count." A few of his kids told some unique stories that they had about him. One of his daughters, Stacy, has happy memories too. The first thing I think about Dad is the way he'll do anything for us kids, regardless of how dumb it might seem. When we were in Laguna Beach, California this summer, I had a craving for chocolate chip cookies. He drove all around Laguna trying to find me one. He has always been understanding, says his daughter Holly. The day I got my driver's license, he let me borrow his beautiful Buick Electra. I was returning a sweater to the store for him. When I parked the car, I scraped its side. I was shaking when I called my dad, afraid that he'd be upset. He just laughed and told me it was only a car, and no big deal. He was so understanding. He always seemed to know when we needed an arm around us. Church service. He served a mission to England for the church, where he was a counselor in the mission presidency. He also served as a bishop twice. He was the president of the Canada-Toronto mission. First quorum of the 70 in April of 1976. President of the 70 from February 1980 to October 1985. He was ordained an apostle for 27 years. Much of his ministry has been focused on missionary work. Lessons learned. From his personal life, one important thing that he has taught is the value of work. He has always been a hard worker and has seen a lot of success. He had some failures in his business, but that didn't stop him. He kept going and figured out a way to make it work. Even when he felt that he shouldn't invest in the Edsel, he still did. But he overcame the difficulties of a wrong choice and ended up still being successful. Even though he worked really hard, he still took the time to be a great father to his children. He took the time to be there for them, to teach them, to bless them, and to be part of their lives. This is from Chelsea. One of his grandsons read this story of his grandfather. Even at the young age of 10, I knew that my grandfather was one of the great leaders of this dispensation. He would still find time to spend with me, even though he had a very busy schedule. He would occasionally take me to the movies and fall right to sleep. I couldn't understand how such fascinating Disney movies could put you to sleep. I later realized that he had so much on his mind he needed to catch a nap any time he could. One of his hobbies. Elder Ballard loved to be part of the community and played a role in people's lives. He served on many church and civic community boards. He has a genuine love for people, and that is how he loves to spend his time. Whenever a business failed, he would always try and make it up to the people that had invested in him. One example of how much he cared for people is that he promised that he would write letters of encouragement to a stake, and he wrote 600 letters personally. That is who he is and what he does. He truly cares about people. Something personal. From October 2009, Fathers and Sons, a remarkable relationship. This talk meant a lot to me. I remember that I was on my mission when he gave it. He talked about how wonderful the relationship of father and son can be and how to develop that relationship. He gave 3 points for each side to do to strengthen the relationship. They were, for the son, trust your father. Second, take an interest in your father's life. Third, ask your father for advice. He then told the fathers 3 things. First, listen to your sons. Second, pray with your sons. Third, dare to have big talks. This meant a whole lot to me because I didn't always have the best relationship with my dad, and it gave me hope that I could build it back up and make it stronger. He made me remember that none of us are perfect, and our parents aren't, no matter what we may think. He helped me to want to get to know my dad more and learn about what he has done in his life, and learn to trust him and his advice. He gave me a new perspective on my life and how I could be a better son. It also gave me courage and advice for what I needed to do in the future to be a great father. From Chelsea, she said, Elder Ballard has been surrounded by women his entire life. He was the only boy in a family of 4. He raised 5 daughters and about 24 granddaughters. Elder Ballard has a very special sensitivity and respect for women. When asked what he learned from the women in his life, he said, everything. I think one of the most important things that men can do is learn and appreciate the depth of judgment and wisdom and goodness that comes from our Heavenly Father's daughters. I particularly appreciate the counsel that he has given regarding this, because I have felt it my responsibility to educate my younger brothers in how to treat the daughters of God that they date and they will someday marry, and I have often referred to the teachings of Elder Ballard. And that's it.